Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. And my name is Dan, and today is Christmas Day, a time for relaxation, spending time with family, or if you're an FPL manager, a time to panic because the gameweek17 deadline and the return of FPL is in less than 24 hours time. So video today had to be done. We're going to be going through the perfect draft, the template team for you guys to use and kind of build upon. I think you're going to like this one. I think this is probably the best recommendation for a basic team template that you're going to find online, full stop. So I'm hoping anyway. So if you do enjoy this one, please do leave a like. Please do subscribe if you're new around here. But let's get on with the content video. Let's go. Okay, so guys, I have built a team using the data that we got from our experts in yesterday's video, and we've got the perfect template team that a lot of people are running with something like this. It's worth 100.9 million. It's a really clear and obvious template that is, you know, very, very clearly defined. So I feel like everyone is going to want to have some kind of variation of the team we're going to show you today. The formation is the 3-4-3, very, very popular formation among top FPL managers at the moment. Let's just jump into it and we'll kind of talk about some of these players that we've got in this team. So first of all, in goal, we have got Kepa Arrizabalaga, who has got these fantastic fixtures in the next two, then the double game week, and then Crystal Palace. Kepa is still flagged in the FPL app, but we do know that Kepa is available. You know, he's training, so we feel like he is probably going to be straight in there against Bournemouth. And at the end of the day, guys, most of you guys are going to know who the backup goalkeeper is going to be. So even if Kepa is for some reason out for one game, it doesn't really matter. But Kepa is the first choice goalkeeper for Chelsea. That's why 74% of our FPL experts are going for this player. So that's a decent amount, well over half. So we've got a very clear top choice for your goalkeeper here, and it is Kepa. Let's move on into a defence, and first of all, Trippier is our guy. So 98% going for Trippier in their team among experts. So he's pretty much essential. When we're looking at these kind of numbers and you see top FPL managers consistently picking the same player, almost everyone going for the same player, there's probably a pretty good reason for that. We know Newcastle are kind of the top two defences in the league alongside Arsenal. Newcastle and Arsenal just have the best defensive numbers throughout this season, and they've got some fixtures where you imagine there are some clean sheets available here. Leicester, Leeds, Fulham, they're all opportunities for clean sheets for Newcastle, and we're expecting them to keep some of them, basically. Trippier also offers a little bit of attacking threat. He's on those set pieces as well, which is pretty nice and can add those additional points. Clean sheets, bonus points, and those attacking returns as well. What's not to like? It's why Trippier has been an absolute legend, an absolute hero of the FPL season so far. Next up, Reece James. I know a lot of people are thinking this is a risky pick, and I kind of understand it. James is a player who is very much all or nothing. Same great fixtures as Kepa. We have got this great double game week as well. James is now fit. He's available. He managed to play, a decent amount of minutes in friendlies over the last kind of week. So it's looking very good for James. He's ready to go. He's going to be a big boost for Chelsea as well. I know people don't really rate Chelsea as a defence too much, but they are going to be hoping to improve. These next two fixtures, if we're looking at the teams who are creating the least amount of chances in the Premier League, Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest are certainly those teams. So we've got two teams, good chance of clean sheets. Remember, you can say, look, I don't think Chelsea are very good defence. It's not that they're one of the worst defences in the league, is it? It's just that they've kind of been a little bit middling and playing below their usual standards. They've had a nice break now. Maybe they can start from fresh and actually do what we know they're capable of as well. So yeah, Bournemouth, Nottingham Forest, fantastic. Double game week after that. Crystal Palace, another opportunity for a clean sheet there. And what's so great about Reece James is that he can go nuclear with the points. He can get those big points. He is a player with that attacking ability. We saw it in the Champions League just before the international break. Reece James got a goal and an assist in that game. He played very, very well in the attacking areas, and he can get into really dangerous areas, and he does create big points sometimes. And I know people just feel like he's too risky, and if you're not someone who likes the explosive player, then fair enough. But I tell you what, when Reece James goes nuclear, gets a huge score, and he will, at some point, he will, you're going to really regret missing out on him. 74% of our experts going for him. Again, that's a seriously significant number. The double game week is a big part of that as well, I imagine. And finally, we're going to finish off the defence with Cancelo, 70%. A lot of people will probably agree that Cancelo is maybe not providing value for money, but what you do have here is a nailed-on Man City defender who has got double game weeks. We've got one double game week coming up very, very soon, and then we'll have another one after that. So 2 double game weeks over the next month or so for Man City. If we can get a nailed-on defender, if we get nailed-on players in general for Man City, then I think that's a very, very good thing to do. Leeds and Everton as well, opportunities for clean sheets there. Chelsea, again, you know, Chelsea's attack, probably we haven't rated that too much for a good reason. So, yeah, Cancelo, clean sheets, hopefully can be there. I know Man City haven't been as good as they have been in previous years defensively, but, you know, they still have the quality there. They still have the players to do it. And, you know, Cancelo, bonus points magnet, isn't really getting in the dangerous shooting positions, isn't creating as much as he has done previously, but we know what he's capable from from history. And, you know, he's also very good for bonus points because of the amount he creates as well. And the amount of, you know, he passes. And they all tick up really nicely for those bonus points. And he does seem to hoover them up whenever Man City do keep a clean sheet. So a very good pick, a very safe pick, a very sensible pick. But I do feel like if you wanted to save some money, maybe going Cancelo to Kyle Walker or something like that is definitely a viable option. At 70% of experts, it's not like he's an absolute must-have player, but 70%, that's still like a highly recommended player to go for. Into midfield, starting with the most popular of the midfielders, is Martinelli with 84%. Now, Martinelli is a player who I've not been fully convinced by just because of the fixtures, but the more I think about it, the more I look at it, sometimes, you know, particularly with attacking players, form is more important than fixtures. You know, Arsenal are a team in form. Martinelli has been really a star of the show for Arsenal, putting up some amazing, amazing attacking numbers, which is really good to see. And we have this possibility that Martinelli could be playing as the central striker as well, instead of Nketiah. So that could be really interesting as well. If Martinelli is playing as a striker, playing out of position in terms of FPL, it's always good if you're going to bring a couple more goals. And look, Arsenal are in such good form, even though these fixtures look pretty bad on paper, you can still do it. You can still do it, especially, guys, if you bought Martinelli for a cheap price, you're probably going to want to keep him as well. And the final thing that is important about Martinelli is that Arsenal do have the potential for 2 double game weeks over the next, again, month or so. So it might be an idea to make sure you have at least one Arsenal midfielder, whether that's Martinelli or Saka or Ødegaard. Martinelli is the sensible choice. He's a very, very good cheap price and has the best numbers of the Arsenal attackers, really. So it makes a lot of sense to go for Martinelli there. 84% selected. Again, another player that is pretty unanimous that people think, the top FPL managers think we should go for Martinelli. Next up, we've got Rashford, 78%. Very good fixtures. Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth there, which are both home fixtures as well. So going in on some Manchester United players might be quite a nice idea. And then either the Man City game and Arsenal game after that for Rashford, they're high lines, aren't they? So Rashford, with his counter-attacking ability, could maybe do the business there. We like Rashford as well because he can potentially be playing as a striker as well. We don't know if he's going to be playing as a left winger or a striker. You know, we're probably going to see him on maybe some free kicks after his World Cup heroics potentially. So yeah, coming in off the World Cup in good form with good fixtures, I think that's probably sealed the deal. Rashford, awesome, awesome pick. Almiron is selected by 2/3 of our FPL experts. So again, very, very popular pick. Not quite a must-have necessarily. It's the lowest picked player of this of this team so far. So you can see maybe there are other ways to go in, but you look at Almiron's form before the break, you've seen his form in the friendly fixtures as well that Newcastle have played. And then you look at some of these fixtures like Leeds and Fulham, and you think Newcastle, a team who is genuinely a Champions League position contender at this point, are going to want to keep pushing on. And Almiron is going to be a very big and important part of that. We know how good Newcastle have been, and we're expecting them to continue in that way. So yeah, Almiron, very, very much a top pick. Amazing price, amazing form before the break. Such good value for money, and a really good way into the Newcastle attack. If you can't fit in players like Callum Wilson, for example, who is also a good pick, then maybe Almiron is a nice cheap alternative that you can sneak in there. And finally in midfield, we've got Salah here. So Salah is selected by 54% of experts. So this one is really a tight one, and it seems to be between Salah and De Bruyne. The two premium teams are kind of favoured by our experts, but yeah, it seems to be a decision between Salah and De Bruyne. Salah is slightly slightly preferred to De Bruyne. We kind of saw that in yesterday's data. But you can kind of understand Salah is a very explosive player. He is on penalties. He's going to be playing against Aston Villa, who will not be having Emi Martinez as their goalkeeper. And if you did want to move Salah over to De Bruyne when De Bruyne does have the double game weeks, then that's also an option for you there. You can kind of book in that transfer. You can kind of look at these next few fixtures. Aston Villa, decent without their starting goalkeeper. That's going to be pretty nice. Leicester at home is not too bad. Brentford is a very good fixture as well. Sort of some of the worst defensive numbers in the whole league. So Salah, with his explosivity, with his penalties, maybe he can go on and do something big. He's had that nice big rest as well, the nice big break. So if you've got any faith in Liverpool, maybe Salah is your guy. Up front, Erling Haaland, 100% of our FPL experts going for this man. I don't think you can even call yourself an expert if you don't have Haaland in your team at this stage of the season. Surely not. But, you know, maybe if you even started the season without him, you can't call yourself an expert either. But that's a conversation for another time. Good fixtures, Leeds and Everton up next, and then we've got that double game week. So yeah, Holland nailed on. We know he's had that nice long rest. We know he's raring to go. We've already seen in the League Cup that he's scored a goal in there, looking good again. Looks the machine that he's always seems to have been. An absolute must-have pick. Nobody should be going without him. Nobody, not a single person. You are crazy if you are not picking Holland at this stage of the season. It is actually ridiculous. Next up, Darwin Nunez, who actually has better numbers than Salah. I would say that if you were to go for just one Liverpool attacker, I would rather go for Darwin than Salah. Now, Darwin just gets an insane amount of chances to score, and he doesn't always necessarily finish them, but sometimes it's a numbers game. He's a, quantity shooter, I guess, that kind of player who just gets so many chances to score, and he will finish some of them. Decent fixtures again, just like Salah. He's slightly more owned than Salah as well, 64% compared to 54% of Salah. If you do fancy going for De Bruyne instead of Salah, for example, and a lot of our experts are going that way, then you can potentially cover Salah with Darwin there as well. If you want to make sure you do have something, you're somehow a little bit involved in the Liverpool attack, then this is your guy. So, yeah, very good pick. He's in my team. I can't see myself moving him out just because his numbers are just so good. I know he's not always going to make good on those numbers, but his underlying stats are just so good. His XG per 90, even his creative numbers aren't bad either. It's insane. He's just taking so many shots, getting so many chances to score. It just seems foolish to go without him. We saw him score a couple of goals before the break as well, if you guys remember that. And finally, guys, we have got Mitrovic in here at 54%. So, that's about half. But that was before we got news of his injury. And I know, I got the data before we got the news of his injury. He has got a foot injury. We're expecting him to be back by, he could be back for game week 17, to be honest. There's no guarantee he's going to be out. But even for game week 18, he should be back by game week 18. At the latest, really, and he should certainly be back in time for the double game week. So he is still super popular, but I think after the injuries, kind of what I've seen, some of the trends I've seen among top FPL managers is that Mitrovic, he is declining in popularity due to him being doubtful for this first fixture against Crystal Palace. But, if you can get him back for the Southampton game, maybe that's not such a bad thing anyway. You have him for that double game week as well. Could actually be okay, but I would say that the most popular replacement for Mitrovic at the moment seems to be Martial. And I feel like how you deal with the Mitrovic situation, whether you take a risk and keep him or go for someone slightly different like Martial, Callum Wilson is also a popular Mitrovic replacement. That's possibly going to be a big difference maker for you. How do you deal with this situation? Do you take a risk? Do you take a chance? Do you go for someone else? Other options I've heard people speak about is Eddie Nketiah, but for me, personally, I'm not too keen on him just because Martinelli could actually play as a striker, leaving Nketiah on the bench. And there is also a lot of rumours of Arsenal looking to sign a replacement striker just to cover Gabriel Jesus, who's going to be out for a couple of months. And you never know, if Jesus is back, in a month and a half or something like that, you're going to force yourself to make a transfer. And by the time all the double game weeks come around, is Nketiah guaranteed to start in both of the doubles? Like, it's kind of a little bit risky to go for a player like him. Martial looks good for the next few, that's for sure. And that allows you to maybe move to Mitrovic after, if you wanted to do something like that. Or, wait on Tony's situation, see if he gets his ban, and maybe move to Tony. But yeah, Martial looks like the obvious replacement, but I also do like Callum Wilson. Those two players would be the guys I'd go for. Or, you can mix things up completely and maybe go for someone like Harry Kane. There's an option there. Change your formation, potentially go 5 in midfield. I wouldn't recommend that, and let's bring up the bench and kind of talk about why. So, Andreas, is a very important player on the bench because he does have that double game week in game week 19. So he's going to be probably brought onto your pitch for that game week. Almiron plays against Arsenal as well. So maybe Andreas to come on in game week 19, Almiron to go to the bench. That seems to be what a lot of people are thinking. A lot of our top FPL managers are thinking about maybe doing that. And that is why the 4 in midfield formation is so important, because it does allow you to get that cheap midfielder in Andreas on the bench, ready to bring him in. Like, you're not typically going to play this player, whoever is in this slot, you're not going to play them unless they have a double game week, in which case you're probably going to want to play a player like Andreas, who, remember, was actually a viable starting player before the break as well. But typically, you're not going to play a player too much at this price range, so it may be worth having him just for that one double game week. Of course, Ward is in there, 96%, so he's an absolute no-brainer for your backup goalkeeper, and should alleviate any fears about Kepa as well. I think there's a certain game week where Kepa plays against Liverpool. That might be an opportunity to bring Ward in for 1 week only. We know he's going to be a starting goalkeeper for that very cheap price, so you may as well. Ben White, 58%. Arsenal with double game weeks coming up. Difficult fixtures, maybe not too many opportunities for clean sheets on paper, but Arsenal's defensive numbers have been the best, if not second best. You know, it's pretty much Newcastle and Arsenal really standing out with the best defensive numbers so far this season. So Ben White plays for a very, very good defence there, and because he's playing at right back, has got a certain amount of creativity to his play as well, so you can see why he is so popular among the top FPL managers as well. And 50% going for Kinder Bueno himself, 3.9 million for a starting Wolves defender. Wolves obviously not offering very much in attack, but they do still have pretty good defensive numbers, so it might be worth going for a defender there. And we've seen Bueno actually do some bits, some attacking bits as well. So maybe he's going to get the odd goal, odd assist here and there as well. We've certainly seen it from him kind of in the league, in cups and friendlies. He's got a little bit of attacking nous about him, so, maybe worth, considering. But typically, again, your 3.9 million defender, very, very cheap, is mostly going to stay on your bench, may be able to come in there and cover you in absolute emergencies. Maybe he'll have an opportunity to play for your team now and again, but in this slot, it is kind of a dead spot in a way. So spending that 3.9 million is probably the way to go. I know a few of you guys probably considering Patterson as well. He's kind of the second most popular of the kind of 5th defender in your team, if you like. So yeah, Bueno or Patterson, but Bueno is the more popular of the two. And that's pretty much your team. And I feel like this team is probably near enough exactly what you want to go for. I know, like, a lot of people, and guys, tell me in the comment section, I'm imagining that a lot of you guys' team is already looking exactly like this, because this is so template that, it's such a clear template that has emerged here. Maybe Mitrovic being that one player who, is maybe declined in popularity since I gathered the data. But this is just such a clear template. So what I would recommend to you guys is probably start with something like this. When you're drafting your team, we haven't got long left, start with something like this. And then maybe make your own, add your own little spins to it. Rather than Salah, maybe you want to go for De Bruyne. Rather than Mitrovic, maybe you want to go for Martial. Maybe you don't fancy Cancelo. You think he's a little bit too much money. You want to downgrade him to Kyle Walker. Maybe that money allows you to upgrade Martinelli to Saka. And you can kind of mix it up a little bit like that. Maybe you don't fancy Kepa. Maybe you want to go for De Gea in goal or something like that. Try and get a Manchester United goalkeeper. Could be pretty nice. They've got some decent fixtures over the next few, haven't they? Maybe go for a Man United defender. Luke Shaw, can you bring him in? Can you fit him in? Do you not fancy Trippier, but you want to cover the Newcastle defence? Maybe downgrade to Botman. Do you not fancy Reece James and you'd rather go for Cucurella? Maybe you can do that as well. So there's lots of little ways you can change things. This should probably be your base. Ben White to Lewis Dunk is something that I've really been thinking about doing myself. But this is your starting point, I would say. And I think you can, maybe make 3-4 changes to this to create a really, really quite a nice team. So yeah, this is just a fantastic template. This was my starting point. I feel like I've pretty much finalized my team now. And what I did was I literally started with this team and I made 4 changes to it to try and create something that I liked a little bit more. That has a little bit of risk. Add your own differentials, add your own spins. There we go. Finally, let's have a look at his captaincy. So Holland is the most popular captain. Like pretty much everyone is going for Holland captain this week among top FPL managers. So seems like a really obvious choice. Vice captain on Salah. Typically, whoever is your second premium player is going to be, you know, your vice captain. If you have 3 premium players, you know, that's maybe another way you guys can mix it up as well. Add a third premium by downgrading some of these other players. You know, take Cancelo down to a cheaper player. Maybe remove Darwin Nunez, and then suddenly you can afford to bring in Harry Kane or De Bruyne and have all of these premiums. You know, so that's kind of thing what I would be doing. But yeah, this is your team. I think this is a great starting point for all of you guys looking to build your team for game week 17. This is the template. You could even copy it exactly if you wanted to. But there we go. That is it. That is the video. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and yeah, I appreciate you watching on Christmas Day, Boxing Day. I know a lot of you guys are very, very busy, but, you know, all of your support and, you know, it's really been amazing over the last few days, so I really do appreciate that. Thank you so much. Please like if you like the video. Do subscribe if you haven't done already. We'll be back with a deadline stream before the Game Week 17 deadline. I might start a little bit earlier on that to give us plenty of time to talk about all kinds of things, because I know you guys probably got a lot of questions. I'll try and answer some questions in the comment section as well if you want to leave any of them. But for me personally, I'm recording my video, I will edit it, I will put it online, and then I'm going to relax for the rest of Christmas Day. Thank you so much for watching once again, guys, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.